Switzerland, Scotland, France, Germany, England, the Netherlands, Austria and Wales. This programme visits railways in all these countries in order to explore the amazing richness and diversity of the great trains of Europe. We start in central Switzerland with a journey by meter gauge rack and pinion over the steep Brunig Pass into the Bernese Oberland. We set off from the beautiful lakeside town of Lucerne. The Brunig is the only meter gauge line operated by the Swiss Federal Railways. And here at its Lucerne terminal, the railway shares facilities with standard gauge locomotives. Built by the Jura-Bern-Lucerne Railway in the 1880s, the line was originally conceived as part of a major European trunk route and designed to standard gauge profiles with long sweeping curves and a relatively high track speed not normally associated with smaller gauge railways. Each year, thousands of holidaymakers are able to enjoy the scenic train ride up and over the Brunig Pass to Interlaken, with dazzling views of lakes and mountains. At Giswil, we pause while a double-headed train descends from the pass on the single-track line. After electrification during the war, a fleet of new locomotives, the HGE 44s, were built. These were capable of operation on both the rack and normal sections of the line, and almost halved the journey time for express trains. Here at Giswil, we can also see number 1952, one of the prototypes for the latest HGE 442s, which were introduced in 1985. The radical design of these powerful new locos incorporated a differential drive mechanism, enabling rack and adhesion drive to work together. Their reduced weight and shorter wheelbase also helped to diminish the need for double heading on the rack sections. Immediately beyond Giswil, where the track gradient of 1 in 10 is far too steep for adhesion, comes the first rack section of the line. The Brunig line uses the Riggenbach rack system, which consists of 2 steel rods with crossbars, similar to a ladder, and a vertical cogwheel beneath the locomotive. The train now climbs rapidly, high above the Saane Valley, up to the village of Kaiserstuhl. The line now runs parallel to the eastern shore of the Lungernsee, before running into the town of Lunge. At Lungern comes another ascent, and the gradient steepens to 1 in 8. Once again, the rack system has to be engaged. But even with the rack system, the long meter-gauge trains often require a second locomotive to share the work. At Capelli, the cogwheels are given a brief respite before the final push to the top of the pass. From Lucerne, the Brunig railway climbs almost 3,000 feet to the summit station at Brunig-Hasliberg. From the summit, a steep 1 in 9 descent down to Meiringen means that the brakes must work hard. But the 442 was designed for these gradients, and the passenger is soon rewarded with splendid views of the wide Aire Valley. Here we can see some of the older type HGE 44s in action on the same section, as they head down past Engelmaskus and over the Husenbach Bridge. Eventually, we pull into Meiringen and the end of the journey over the pass. Meiringen is the SBB's only locomotive and carriage works on the Brunig line. From here, it's an easy run on into Interlaken. Next, we travel to Inverness, in the heart of the Scottish Highlands, for the run along the Kyle line. The city sits astride the River Ness. On the east bank stands Inverness Castle. On the west bank, Inverness Cathedral was also built in the 19th century. Inverness lies at one end of the Caledonian Canal, a 19th century engineering feat cutting right across Scotland through the Great Glen. Until recently, the trains from Inverness were pulled by the now retired Class 37 diesels. Out of Inverness, there's a bridge to cross, a bridge of 9 arches until the River Ness in full flood tore the centre away, leaving a major rebuilding project to restore normal service. Then over a swing bridge across the Caledonian Canal and north to Dingwall, passing the shores of Beaulieu Firth with the Black Isle in the distance. On either side, the views are ever-changing and they're always spectacular. West from Dingwall, the Kyle line runs on. Forests, mountains, lonely lochs, all to be seen from a window seat. Poems are written about scenes like these. Station names have a poetic ring about them too. Achenolt, Achnasheen, Achnashellach, all in a row down the Kyle line. Victorian engineers used wagon loads of explosive to blast their way through the rock. They needed an iron will as well as native skill to build the Kyle line. Now the train runs into Plockton, built on a promontory in Loch Carron. Behind its cottages lie the hills of Applecross. Sheltered from the worst of the weather, palm trees grow on the roadside here, and for those who enjoy messing about in boats, there's no safer haven than this. In the distance, the mountain peaks of the Isle of Skye signal that this journey across some of the loneliest country in Scotland is nearing its end. Still a few miles to go though, with another engineering feat of Victorian railway building on the way. Portnacloish Cutting, 80 feet deep and hewn out of solid rock. Along the coast, the track heads into the Kyle of Lochalsh, the end of the line and the main ferry stage for the Isle of Skye. A dining table view of the Isle of Skye ferry. They're quick and efficient as they load up the cars and passengers, and it's off and away to the Isle of Skye. It's only a few hundred yards across the water, but there's scenery to admire even on this short crossing, and there's time to reminisce. Across these waters came bonny Prince Charlie, fleeing from Culloden to stay with Flora MacDonald on the Isle of Skye. Skye is rich in myth and legend, with the towering Coolin Hills leading credence to many a crofter's tale. Another ferryboat trip, this time from Armadale on the southeast of Skye, taking cars and passengers back to the mainland at Mallaig. From Mallaig, though, there's another journey. 164 miles to Glasgow. Paris, the capital of France, is also a city of railways, and a wide range of competing national, suburban and metro trains are easily observed. To the south of the city, at Dourdan, we find one of the distinctive Class Z 5600 double-deckers. These were introduced in 1983 and are now in widespread service. Paris is served by an extensive and efficient network of SNCF, Metro and RER suburban services, which extend deep into the countryside surrounding the city. The castle at Étampes dominates the station below. An express passes through on the main line to Orléans. The length and assortment of wagons on this double-headed freight train serves to demonstrate that the railways still contribute enormously towards the French industrial economy. Also heading south is this EMU. After it's dropped its passengers, a passing glimpse of the automatic doors shows that they can also be opened manually. On the other platform, a double-decker suburban train going north is overtaken by a Paris-bound express. At Juvisy, there's a chance to see an older class of electric loco, dating from 1949, as it pulls a freight train. A more common sight on the network is one of Paris's lengthy silver commuter trains. At the smaller suburban stations, like Coppil-Essonnes, local services are the most common traffic. Here we also see an express comprised of modern co-rail and older stock. At Villeneuve-Saint-Georges, we find number CC7149, built in 1955, on a semi-fast train. Shunter number Y8326 and other rolling stock can be seen at Gretz-Armenvillard. As well as this diesel-hauled Paris-bound express. This preserved steam loco is still used on special trains, while a Y-class tractor pulls a permanent way train at Ebly. Crécy-en-Brie-la-Chapelle is a country branch terminus, which, despite its proximity to Paris, has managed to maintain an atmosphere of bygone days. Bourg-la-Reine is a busy junction of RER routes B2 and B4. Robinson is at the end of RER route B2, where old architecture contrasts with new rolling stock. Boissy-Saint-Léger is at the terminus of RER route A2, and a major depot from where we can get a final glimpse of the locos and rolling stock around Paris. In East Germany, the narrow-gauge railways of the erstwhile DDR are currently reassessing their role. Two networks which seem secure are the linked Harzkebahn and Selketalbahn in the Harz Mountains. Here at Nordhausen, to the south of the network, we see 997233 in action. From Nordhausen, we head north into the foothills of the Harz on the Harzkebahn to Wernigerode. At Netzkarte, a brief halt before the train chief gives the right of way. There's another wait at Eisfelde Talmöhle as 997242 departs for Nordhausen. Eisfelde Talmöhle is the junction with the Selketalbahn, whose line can be seen going off to the left. At Bennekenstein, the train is picked up by a Coco diesel, converted from standard gauge. Great activity in the station at Drei-Annenhohne confirms that this is the junction for the recently reopened line to Broken, the highest point in the Harz at 1,142 meters, and until recently the site of Russian surveillance radars. On this steep descent towards Wernigerode, there are tight bends and curves with continuous check rails and a tunnel. Wernigerode, the end of the Harzkebahn line, finds our loco low on fuel and needing to coal up. From Wernigerode, we can easily travel east to join the Selketalbahn system. Here at Thule, we catch diesel number 114464 running around its train before departing. Further south at Gernrode is a chance for a closer look at the narrow-gauge Class 199 diesel. This has been rebuilt from a standard gauge loco by simply putting narrow gauge bogies underneath. Narrow and standard gauge locos share the sheds at Gernrode. Back on the line, we travel through Mardersprung and the resort of Alexisbad. In Alexisbad, the loco uncouples and waits for the arrival of the train from Harzegerode. (997-243) returns to its train before setting off again. Eventually, the train approaches Steigen. We're now near the junction with the Harzgebahn, and our loco, having run around its train, returns to Gernrode. Staying with narrow gauge steam, but of a very different type, we travel next to England and the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway. Running from Hythe to Dungeness, a total of 13.5 miles in length, the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway is the world's only miniature main line. An impressive stock list of 11 steam and 2 diesel locomotives, all running on the 15-inch gauge line, begin their day's work here at the main depot in Romney. These elegant miniature locomotives, built in 1925 to a design by the model engineer Henry Greenley, constructed to 1/3 standard gauge size, were based on the Flying Scotsman type locomotives then in service with the London and North Eastern Railways. Weighing 8 tons in working order, these powerful locomotives are capable of hauling 17 coach trains, seating up to 350 passengers. The first locomotive to depart from New Romney, bound for Hythe, is number 3, Southern Maid. Number 3 is a 462 Pacific type locomotive built in 1927 by Davy Paxman. Today, it's resplendent in the Southeastern and Chatham green livery. Hythe Station, the only terminus on the line, has an overall roof and 3 platform faces. Running around its train, Dr. Syn goes onto the railway's second turntable to be turned for its return journey. Unlike the electrically operated turntable at New Romney, this is still manually operated. Number 10, a 462 locomotive, was built by the Yorkshire Engine Company in 1931 and is in regular service on the line. Cylinder cocks open, Dr. Syn departs Hythe, bound for Dungeness. The line from Hythe to New Romney is double track all the way, allowing north and southbound trains to pass at any point. Dr. Syn, on a return working from Hythe, approaches New Romney Station. Before a train can depart New Romney to continue its journey to Dungeness, the driver must first collect the tablet from the post by the footbridge. This is his authority to proceed into the single-line section to Romney Sands. Departing New Romney, the line tunnels beneath Littleston Road. Once through the tunnel, the line becomes single track. At Dungeness, the line swings in a large open loop across the banks of Pebbles, in sharp contrast to the rolling grasslands north of New Romney. The loop turns the trains through 180 degrees, a unique feature of the line. The station stands in the shadow of the old Dungeness Lighthouse, now preserved as a museum. In 1989, across the North Sea in Utrecht, the Netherlands State Railways celebrated their 150th anniversary with an exhibition and a parade of locomotives and rolling stock. Here we can see the exhibition site, adjacent to Utrecht Station. Number 3737, a preserved 460, arrives with a train of preserved coaches. This international train from Berlin was made up of mixed East and West German coaches prior to unification. Having picked up passengers, number 3737 departs. One of the most popular visitors was the SNCF's TGV Atlantique. Netherlands State 1010, built in 1949, can be compared with this more modern West German Express Electric. Over in the station, a 1955 Bobo diesel, number 2212, passes through with a typical freight train. This modern mainline electric contrasts with a vintage EMU, especially restored for the occasion. Here, a 1966 Sprinter arrives as a doghead leaves. Back at the exhibition site, the steam parade gets underway with a 1901-040 tank engine, running alongside a 1914-060. This SNCF Liberator class loco, built in America during the war, is followed by a Swiss 210, the most powerful in the parade. The city of Truro held the world speed record in 1904. Here we can see SNCF number 141R. SBB number 2978 brings up the last of the locomotives. But not content with such a brief appearance, the locomotives now return to elaborate on this international presentation. Finally, the parade comes to an end. And here we catch them all going home together to a nearby loco depot for the night. To celebrate 150 years of Austrian railways, a very similar event was held at the Strasshof locomotive depot near Vienna. Behind the scenes at the Strasshof locomotive depot on the morning of the first public parade, all is bustle and activity. Already, many of the locomotives have left the shed and are being finally polished or having last-minute adjustments made to them in the large locomotive yard outside. "31023 is receiving a final polish, following its hard work the day before on a special train. And the elegance of this brilliant green Hungarian 460 contrasts with the sense of power exuding from this black freight locomotive. Further down the shed yard, locomotives are beginning to move off and to assemble their trains. Amongst all this activity, we're invited to board a Hungarian locomotive owned by the cross-border railway between Austria and Hungary, the Győr-Sopron-Ebenfurti Vasút, as it moves towards the coaling stage. The Austrian crew is assisted by a Hungarian driver, who starts the locomotive on the first part of its journey.
Water, here's water. Yeah.
Some locos are going calmly about their business, while others are so anxious that things don't always go to plan. The shed is now almost empty, and soon the last participant leaves to join the assembled trains and parade before the enthusiastic crowds. Present-day freight haulage is represented by this powerful modern electric locomotive. Czechoslovakia has provided a magnificent example of steam power in this Class 498-482 with its train of smart coaches. The oldest performer in the parade, Lyceon, which for many years stood on a plinth in a park near Linz station, is no less than 137 years old and has been restored especially for this parade. What memories of the famous steam-operated rack and pinion Erzbergbahn this iron ore train evokes?
ist sicher effizient und einsatzfähig.
The 1043 is Swedish. 10 Class RC2s were brought to evaluate thyristor control. So the parade is ending. 2 Class 1046s have been rebuilt to incorporate the latest technology. We end with a visit to the most famous of the celebrated Great Little Trains of Wales, the Snowdon Mountain Railway. Beginning at Llanberis, the 6-mile railway climbs over 3,000 feet to the top of the highest mountain in Wales. The Victorian love for adventure and railway building resulted in the formation of the Snowdon Mountain Tramroad and Hotels Company in November 1894. Today, the only rack and pinion railway in Great Britain will transport you in comfort and safety from the shores of Lake Padarn to the barren heights of Snowdon itself. The railway has 7 steam locomotives, the first being delivered in 1895. Prior to the day's passenger services, the locomotives are prepared and made ready for their duties. This provides an opportunity for us to learn something about the principles and workings of the apt rack system. The system consists of double-bladed racks offset for safety and strength, although we see the principle being demonstrated on a single rack, which is employed in sidings. The pinions, engaging with the rack teeth, are the only form of power transmission, the running wheels rotating freely on the 2 axles. Whereas the mainstay of motive power is steam, it was decided in the mid-1980s that the railway needed to introduce diesel locomotives for flexibility and economy. In 1986, 2 320-horsepower 4-wheel diesels built by Hunslet Engine Company entered service. Train frequency is very much dependent on the weather and passenger attendance at the Llanberis station. Train control is maintained by radio, operated from Llanberis, but train movements between sections are controlled by blockmen. At Hebron station, one of the 3 passing places on the line, number 4 enters the loop, awaiting the arrival of number 7. With the authority of the blockman, number 7 pounds its way towards the summit. the summit gained, passengers and walkers mingle amongst the barren rocks, all enjoying the magnificent panorama.